Hello and welcome to the 10th Annual Student Scholar Symposium at Lipscomb University. My name is Bruno Soltik and I'm going to be talking about archaeology of Yahweh, temples in ancient Israel. First of all, we have to see what a temple is. So in common word, it's a building used for religious practices. So in ancient Near East, a temple would be a house of God where he or she was chosen to reside and where humans would worship him in there. So we're gonna go to the Syrio-Palestinian temples first. We're gonna go north down to south. First temple is Ain Dara, which was a late Bronze Age to Iron Age 2 temple, and it's oriented northwest to southeast, and it measures 30 by 20 meters. The next temple is Aleppo temple. It's 11th to 8th century BCE, south to north orientation, with the inner cella measuring 17 by 25 meters. In the background you can see the storm god of Aleppo. The next one we have Tel Tainat. It is a building 2, Iron Age 1 to Iron Age 2. Orientation is east to west, which is a very important orientation. And then we also have a Field 2 temple, again Iron Age 1 and Iron Age 2. Orientation is north, south to north. So, and it measures 18 by 8 meters. The next we have is Philistine temples. The first one is Ashdod. The temple was dated to the Iron Age 2. It was oriented south to north and it measures 13 by 6 meters, so it wasn't too big. Most famous find we have there is Ashdod, which you can see on the picture. The next temple is Tel Mikne Ekron. There were actually 3 temples there. Stratum 6 sanctuary complex dated to the 12th century BCE, dated 10 by 10 meters and oriented northeast to southwest. Building 350 Iron Age 2, northwest to southeast, measuring 23 by 17 meters. And then the last one, Temple Complex 650, which was the largest one to find in that area, dated to the 8th to 5th to 7th century BCE, and it's oriented east to west. The next one we have Tel Safi. They have a temple upon another temple, so they have 2 different stratums. The first one is Iron Age, dated to Iron Age 1 to 2, oriented south to north, and it measures 9 by 11 meters. And the second one, which is a little larger, measuring 16 by 11 meters, it's Iron Age 2A, and it's measuring the south to north, so it's the same orientation. The last one, the second to last one of the Philistine temples is Tel Kasile, temple 131, Iron Age 1, excavated by Amichai Mazar, oriented east to west, and is measuring 8 by 14.5 meters. The last one, the newest one we have, was Nahal Patish. It's a temple dated to Iron Age 1, and it's southwest northeast orientation. It's rather small. It looks like a panhandle with 3.5 meters by 3.5 meters with 2 and 1.5 meters. Next one we have Israelite Iron Age 1 sacred buildings. There are not many temples. Actually, there were no temples at that time in ancient Israel during the time of Judges. And so we have sacred buildings, but we have to look at those as well. The first one we have is the Bull Site, open cultic center, 12th to the 10th century BCE, measuring 21 by 23 meters of the outer wall, and the most famous find was the bronze bull figurine. Mount Ebal, which is a large double enclosure, dated to the 12th century, south and north orientation. Outer enclosure was 250 by 50 meters, which was quite large, and the inner enclosure is 110 by 35 meters. Et Tel, which is biblical eye, cultic room was found there, dated to 1220 to 1050 BCE. Orientation is south to north, and it only measures 8 by 5 by 3 meters. There was the altar near Shiloh found, probably Iron Age, but the date is unknown since it's the altar. It's very impossible to date. All the corners are pointing to the true north, true south, true east, and true west, and it measures by 2 by 2 meters. Kirbet Keyafa, which is south of Jerusalem, it's on the border between Israel and Philistia. They found 2 wall cultic spaces and cultic room in a casemate wall, dated to Iron Age 1. Both measure southeast northwest, and the other one was south to north, and one's measuring 6 by 5 meters, the other one's measuring 6 by 8 meters. And the most important thing at Kibbutz Yahweh, they found 2 model shrines, which can represent the Temple of Jerusalem. Tel Lachish, there was a sanctuary there, small sanctuary, 2 by 3 by 3 by 3 meters, and 10th century, northeast southwest, where we're gonna come back to Tel Lachish a little later. Tel El Mazar, which is a little north, open court sanctuary, 24 by 12 by 5 meters, and orientation is south to north, again dated to Iron Age 1. Tel Berehov, it's a small sanctuary. The western room is not preserved at all, almost, and the eastern room is well preserved. It's located south to north orientation, and its east room was measured 2 by 4 by 2 by 4, so quite small. And we're moving to the Israelite religious sites during the period of divided monarchy, which is the northern kingdom of Israel. First, we have Tel Dan. They have 2 stratums, stratum 3 and stratum 2. Stratum 3 is dated to Iron Age 2 and is oriented south to north and measures 18 by 18 meters, same as stratum 2, dated to 8th century, also south to north and 18 by 18 meters, with addition of the large staircase and 5 rooms on the west side. Tel Kadesh, cultic hall was found there, 10th to 8th century, oriented north to south. The altar was 0.45 meters high. That's what they found there, for horn limestone altar. Ein Gev, which is on the east side of the Sea of Galilee, cultic room, 10 to 8th century BCE, south to north, but unfortunately the measurements are unknown. And Megiddo, which was a religious site dating through having religious architecture there from basically from early Bronze Age to all the way to late Bronze Age and to Iron Age 1 and 2. But we have a cultic corner, south to north orientation, 1.25 by 2.5 meters. Then we have a shrine, south to north orientation, a large building, south to north orientation, and Masebot temple, which is a standing stone temple, again south to north orientation. So Megiddo was rich in finds, especially the religious architecture and religious material culture. Tel El-Farah Tirza was a gate temple, Iron Age 2, west to east. Again, the orientation is west to east, but again, it's a gate temple. So the gate temples were not built after the gate was built, not before the gate. So we had to adapt towards the gate, and it's small, 2.5 by 2 meters. Samaria, we only found the shrine, even though the biblical text talks a lot about the god of Samaria. We only found the shrine, Iron Age 2, south to north orientation, 26 by 30 meters, which is quite large, but it's outside of the city, surrounded on a rock trench. And Tel Mikal, which is a small tel on the shore of the Mediterranean Sea, 9 to 8th century BCE, southeast and northwest, around 5 by 6 meters. They found a pit with a sunken jar and ceramics. And now we're moving to the Judahite religious sites during the period of divided monarchy. Beersheba, we found a horn altar, probably dated to the 8th century. Again, we don't know the measurements or the location where the altar was found, because it was in the second usage. Kirbet El-Kom, inscriptions mentioning Yahweh and Asherah. There's no religious architecture at the site. Tel Lachish, again another gate shrine, 9th to 8th century, north to south orientation, especially unknown measurements, but you can see it's on the south part of the reconstructed gate, you can see. And in the second phase they found a stone toilet place, and the altar was destroyed, probably dating to the 8th century. Kuntilet Erut, it's all the way south, it's in the Sinai desert. They found 2 buildings. One was dated to Iron Age 2B and C, and it's oriented east to west and measuring 25 by 15 meters. Tellerrad, one building, two different stratums, again both measuring the same 16 by 14 meters, and both oriented east by west, early 8th century and late 8th century. Tel Moza, temple that was excavated recently in the last couple of years, Iron Age 2A, orientation east to west, measuring 15 by 10 meters. And let's see what biblical text says about it. We have a tabernacle, late Bronze Age to Iron Age 1. Again, east to west, biblical text talks much about how the orientation of the tabernacle should be, and it has to be east to west, measuring 4.5 meters by 13 by 5 meters. And the most famous one is the Temple of Solomon, Iron Age 2 to 586 BCE. Again, measurement is east to west, measuring 20 by 9 meters and 40 meters tall. The scholarship talks about the orientation and the sun worship, but Glenn Taylor concludes that the archaeological evidence and biblical evidence does not offer any reason to believe that the Temple of Solomon was intentionally aligned to the sun as a reflection of the cultic practice. And I would agree with that statement. Amihai Mazar in this diagram placed all the temples that at his knowledge at the time. And this diagram indicated the orientation of the temples in Israel follows no consistent pattern, which I would disagree. There's actually a consistent pattern that we can see in our last slide. Avi Faust says that only the Israel temples seem to be oriented exactly towards the east, and I would agree with him. And biblical texts demonstrate the preference given to the eastern orientation, which is correct. And I will conclude that the Judahite sites in Iron Age 2 during the Davidic monarchy are actually following the biblical text by placing their religious architecture or temples or shrines. As you can see in this summary, Tel Dan, En-Gev, and all the northern sites are mostly facing south to north, while all the Judahite sites with the biblical text are strictly east to west. So this is basically my short conclusion, but my dissertation is still up and coming. I want to thank you everyone for listening and coming to my presentation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.